This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now for Friday, August 2nd, 2024. WNBF.
So it starts recording?
And a good morning to you. As we take to the air, we say, what a week to get set for the weekend, because as we've come to find out, the news doesn't stop on the weekends. In fact, sometimes the biggest stories break on the weekends. So stay tuned to WNBF today and Saturday and Sunday, because when news breaks, you need to know. That's why WNBF is here on air at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. Let's go directly to the phones. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. Sorry to bother you so early, Bob, but I have things to do. I'd like to talk for a bit. Well, first of all, Bob, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? The dew point out, the humidity. It's brutal, isn't it?
It's enough to make you sick.
Yes, literally. Especially these poor guys that work outdoors. You know, physically working out. Man, I feel for them. I really do.
I was just out working outdoors, but only for about 7 minutes. I was working on a story, and I had to take some pictures of a building and some people, but I was only out of my air-conditioned Bobmobile for about 7 minutes, but even that took its physical toll.
Oh, yeah, big time. How about these guys in ditches, Bob, swinging picks and stuff? Oh, I don't know how they're doing it.
It's tough.
Hey, Bob, real quick, what's that?
It's tough.
Yeah, real tough. Hey, Bob, what I want to bring up real quick, you know, last couple of days I've been paying attention, callers calling in and railing on Trump, and I've noticed, I even have proof that Miss Harris or Mrs. Harris is not a very good candidate.
Ms. Harris. Ms. Harris.
Okay, Ms. Okay. Well, anyways, Bob, they're not calling in. They're trying the 2020 playbook. Let it all be about Trump, about all his negatives, and let's not tout our candidate. You know why? Because she's not any good. There's nothing they can say. And even a couple of weeks ago, Bob, we had you saying that you never cared for her. And you know what I gauge this by listening to the show? There's two guys I rely on, and they're not calling in saying how wonderful she is, and that's Matt and Vinny.
Well, one of the things that happens when your opponent is basically, figuratively going down in flames, you let your opponent proceed unimpeded. There's nothing at this stage of the game, looking back over the last, when did he name J.D. Vance to be his running mate? Since that point, basically, it seems the Trump train has derailed, and certainly it's not going to be to anyone's advantage who's opposing Mr. Trump. It's not going to be to their advantage to distract from, an implosion. The implosion continues unabated.
If you're calling it derail, Bobby, you can use that word if you want, but that's being engineered by the mainstream media, the fake media, Bob. That's going to be like this all the way to the election. They're going to do their best to campaign for Kamala. You know that, Bob. And they did it. They always do it. They won't stop. He's got a lot to fight against, Bob. And when you have the media on your side, I mean, that's a huge help. You know that.
You know that the people who own the media are not generally Democrats and they're not generally liberals. Generally speaking, the people who own the major media companies in the U.S. and around the world are conservative Republicans in the style of Rupert Murdoch. They may not be as flamboyant and as active or high profile as Mr. Murdoch, but in many cases, the people who control the major media outlets in this country and on this planet tend to be wealthy white men who, in many cases, are billionaires. And, the conservative agenda is what it's about. They actually, I believe, stand to benefit greatly if Donald Trump wins another term in the White House. They're likely to benefit from tax cuts and special breaks for their businesses. So, all this hand-wringing about the so-called liberal media is just that. It's good. It's good for radio and TV audiences, but it's far from the truth. The media machine, generally speaking, is controlled by conservatives, and in many cases, they're Republicans.
Well, it boils down. It's Trump against the world, Bob, and he's tough enough to handle it.
It's not Trump against the world. It's Trump against the people who are working for the average American. Trump is working for the wealthy, the well-off, and also for people who are afraid to say the things he does in public. He says a lot of things in public that other people think, but they're afraid to say in public because they would lose their job or they might be ostracized by their family and friends. So that's one of the core reasons why fully 26% of Americans over the age of 18 think he's a pretty good candidate.
Bob, I have to disagree on one part there. Millions of people have been saying over and over again when Trump was in, especially the middle class, Bob, and lower, saying that they were better off, they had more money in their pocket when he was in. Now,
by the way, we've established the President of the United States doesn't control the economy, nor does he or she control the gas prices. So whether the price of gas is $2 a gallon or $22 a gallon doesn't have that much to do with who's president at the time.
But you get, when you're in office, whatever happens at the time, you get the praise or the blame, don't you?
You do, but it's inaccurate. Again, yes, it's true that sometimes people who are in office, presidents or governors or mayors, when something bad happens, they get blamed. For example, with all the violence going on in Rochester these days, many people are blaming the mayor of Rochester or blaming members of city council. But the mayor and city council members in Rochester and other Democrats in Monroe County aren't going around killing people.
True. Well, you know what I'd like to hear, though, Bob? I'd like to hear some people calling in, touting Miss Harris and her record and how wonderful she is, and lay off Trump a little bit. Let's hear how great she is.
Oh, no. No, I don't want people to ignore Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump should be discussed by all people who are over 18 who intend to vote this year. Mr. Trump should be discussed, and Ms. Harris also ought to be discussed. The pros and cons. And look, both candidates have good and bad attributes.
Would you agree, though, we need to hear some more about her? I mean, you can't hide from her and just...
Well, this might be a winning campaign strategy. As I said, if your opponent is having big problems, and any casual observer of the Trump train would say, if it's not derailed, then it's having serious mechanical problems getting up that hill, then you let them deal with it. Let the American media or the world media focus on the troubled Trump train. And once the train, if perhaps they get it chugging again between now and November 5th, if it starts chugging again and looks like there's a decent chance that the Trump train will make it to the finish line before the Harris train, then you start adjusting your campaign. In the meantime, I mean, every time he has a public appearance, he offers more statements to show what a president he was. And one of the things many Americans will consider for this year's election is, do they want 4 more years of that with nonstop aggravation and anger, or do they want something different? Do they want something refreshing, something new, something shiny, a bright new brand, as opposed to the 2016 model? Who wants the 2016 model when you can get the brand new 2024 model?
Well, you're right about the aggravation. Left-wing media aggravates him 24 hours a day.
But that's because he gives so much material, not just to the left-wing media, even to the right-wing media. Here's the secret, and I've said this several times on the program, but it bears repeating. The media, and that's the people who run the media, own the media, control the media, and even reporters would benefit dramatically and tremendously if Donald Trump wins in November. 4 years of nonstop weirdness is going to get a lot more viewers, a lot more listeners, a lot more clicks than a thoughtful and more traditional style of presidential behavior.
You use that word weirdness, Bob. I don't think I didn't notice that. You've been reading.
Hey, you don't see me trotting around with my orange spray face. You see what I'm saying? Now, is orange spray face, is it weird? Or, how many other people do you know who look like that?
Well, I remember Biden not too long ago getting on TV with a spray tan, Bob, and an unbuttoned...
Spray tan is one thing. Yes, there are people who use spray tan. There aren't many people who use orange spray tans. Look, I am a proud Union Endicott High School graduate. Once a tiger, always a tiger. But I'll be darned if I walk down East Main Street in Endicott with an orange spray tan.
I wouldn't either, Bob.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm sorry. I amused my own self.
Real quick before I go, Bob. Here's one topic already I'm looking at. There are clips where Kamala says, I would definitely ban fracking. Now I saw her on TV saying, I am not going to ban fracking. In PA, she needs PA, Bob.
Yes,
so
she needs Pennsylvania and she needs Ohio. And she needs the states where fracking is very important. So, of course, she's going to back away from her past public opposition to fracking. You do what you need to do to get elected.
Right, but the voters aren't going to be that stupid, especially in PA. They're not going to, Bob. No way.
All right. Well, we'll see. And especially with Josh Shapiro as her running mate, I think she wins Pennsylvania. Most Pennsylvania voters outside Pittsburgh and Philadelphia will be inclined to vote Republican. I mean, that's a given. So whether you're talking about Susquehanna County or Bradford County or Wayne County, the counties that are closest to Binghamton, yeah, the Trump-Vance ticket is likely to win those counties. But, and this, as he would say, is huge. It's huge because there are more voters in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and they are going to be inclined to vote for the Harris-Shapiro ticket. Don't blame me. It's just the way it is. So the fracking issue, while it's important to some Pennsylvania residents, that's not going to be the deciding factor. Having Josh Shapiro on the ticket will almost assure victory in Pennsylvania and probably Ohio. It's 9:24 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's your friend Johnny.
Good morning, Johnny.
Well, if the voter rolls, including the ones in Broome County, are not cleaned up, then there's no hope a letter has been presented to the Board of Elections. 8% of the voting rolls in Broome County are questionable. A lot of it is based on Binghamton University, both on campus in addresses that are not addresses and in student housing. So in a city, for example, where council races had a razor-thin margin, 8% of the voting rolls that are defective would have a great influence in a New York State Senate race that only had 1,000 or so vote margins. 8% of the voter rolls is not exactly chopped liver. So, and keep in mind that it was a Republican legislature here in Broome County, Dan Reynolds, the chairman, that accepted a grant from Mark Zuckerberg for over $100,000. These are supposedly conservative Republicans. Once that grant was approved, their first official act was to write a letter to the Board of Elections asking for information on Claudia Tenney, who was our congressperson back then. So it doesn't look good. All corruption that is at the national level either starts at the local level and filters back down. But we've got severe problems here, Bob. Let me give you an example. There's been some news releases coming out from the Broome County Sheriff's Office. And, of course, Fred Akshar, with much fanfare, started his administration by, quote-unquote, solving the correction officer shortage by bending the rules, postponing the rules, putting in this crew of dozens of DEI candidates that would have never qualified, that would have never been considered for corrections officers, and it's falling apart at the seams. People bought into this fact that Akshar was a lawman that could deliver good management, that his undersheriff, Sammy Davis, was watching the store. He's also on the side a DEI consultant. Well, let's look at what's happened. There's things that came out in the last few days, and there's other things that have not come out, and they involve quiet resignations. They involve booty calls with inmates by the guards, cafeteria workers. They involve theft of a soft drink at a local Front Street business.
Well, look, come on. I mean, come on, man. What do you expect? Perfection? So, I mean, in terms, so some of what you've referenced would appear to be off-the-job behavior. Some of the stuff, if it was on the job, would appear to be in direct violation of the rules and regulations of the sheriff's office. But ultimately, it is up to Sheriff Akshar to decide what rises to the level of either disciplinary action. Some cases could be suspended with pay, suspended without pay, or if it's truly a serious offense, possible dismissal. But that's true of every place. Here, if I engaged in any of that kind of behavior, I could disappear. I could be gone by 10 o'clock.
Well, I
could. On the other hand, if there were extenuating circumstances, maybe they would let me stay.
Well,
I don't know all the circumstances. Look, people do things every day, John. You know that. People will always do things. And sometimes, you could pass it off and say, well, mistakes were made or poor judgment or whatever. It doesn't always need to result in someone losing their livelihood.
Well, that may be true, but I was wondering what the gentleman that founded Just on, and they had a cessation of hostilities against the sheriff's department, and they got on Akshar's bandwagon. I wonder how, just the general subject, I wonder how they feel about sex with inmates. I mean, I wonder what...
Well, how does anybody feel about sex with inmates? It shouldn't happen. It's unspeakable and it's unthinkable, and it can't be tolerated. But by the same token, look, we're all adults here, except for the kids who are listening because they're not in class during summer break. So for you kids, turn your head the other way while I just mentioned this. Adults will adults, regardless of what rules you have on the books. I know, it makes me unhappy to think that people do things that perhaps are unethical or immoral or certainly against rules and regulations. The question has to be, in virtually every case, is how do you respond? Do you have a zero tolerance policy, whether it's the sheriff's office or a local police department or even WNBF radio? Do you have a zero tolerance policy for all of your employees that if they do anything in violation of the rules and regulations, or if they do some stuff off the job, that it calls for immediate action in terms of possible suspension or possibly loss of a job? I think every case has to be treated uniquely or individually.
Well, wait a minute. You're going down the same road as the Catholic bishops did.
Hey, John, who am I to judge? Don't. Well, by the way, that may in fact be true, but isn't it interesting that now I'm Bob Joseph, Saint Bob, is suddenly being lumped in with bishops. But anyway, continue your.
Well, it's all the it was painted back then as a small group of people, and then wait a minute, there was bad bishops. Wait a minute, there was bad cardinals in the highest seats of power in the United States. The cover up is the problem, and you want it all out. And there's a pretty famous reporter that's working on some of these stories in Broome County and wants to know why they're picking and choosing on what to go. But here's the point. Here's one of the ways you evaluate law enforcement the same way a hospital evaluates a doctor. If a doctor has been sued multiple times for malpractice, he's not hired. If police chiefs and sheriffs are sued and the claims are settled multiple times, that's not a sign of, I think the police are doing a great job, back the blue. Because I want to just say one thing. When Maria Sexton praised the Vestal chief who resigned, directly in the same time frame as the fact that they got caught red-handed saying a body cam video was destroyed or missing when it wasn't, that cost the town of Vestal $18,000. How can you say the police are doing a good job?
Well, maybe it was a generalized statement, and maybe with respect to that specific case, that was a mistake. Could be. In terms of day-to-day performance, the police department is doing a fine job. Maybe that's what she was referencing. I mean, you could be doing a fine job, but you can also, somewhere along the line, make a mistake about a specific case and do something, in fact, that could cost the town thousands of dollars. But still, I think the generalized statement, and until by the way, she hasn't been on the program in months, so who knows when she'll be on again. But until she's able to elaborate on that, we don't know what she meant overall. If she meant that the Vestal Police Department and their overall law enforcement duties 24/7 are doing an excellent job, but they made a mistake with that one specific case, which, let's be fair, although it's certainly a notable case, doesn't have anything to do with traditional day-to-day law enforcement activity.
Well, if you want to suppress I mean, the reason that the body cams are there is not selective. It's supposed to be there for the benefit of the officers and their people they encounter and the general public at large. When you, it's the same thing. For example, if an anonymous letter is missing in Vestal and it's been certified that they don't have that letter, and yet a town councilman says at the meeting that they did have a letter in custody and they didn't read it because it concerned another member of the planning board. Do police get anonymous letters and they throw them away? Tips?
Well, they shouldn't, but who knows what people do. If something is undocumented, just so happens in this particular case of the anonymous letter that was referenced during a town board meeting. But that probably was an exception. I would guess that town board members and sometimes members of city council or even mayors or county executives or town supervisors sometimes get anonymous letters that they never mention publicly. And maybe in some cases, if they don't mention it publicly, maybe they go straight to the trash.
Let me tell you what happened in Vestal, and it's quite this simple. They got rid of this guy, Schaefer. These people rode the wave of discontent on the Bun Hill project. The Bun Hill the citizens group is kaput now. They're not doing anything different than anybody else. They're just a little nicer.
All right. That is the story from Binghamton's West Side making contemporary news. It's 9:36 here at WNBF. 607-772-1290 is our number. We'll be taking calls this morning. I think I'll take a lot of calls. This morning. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just talk about, you know. I'm here till noon. It's Friday. First Friday of August. And the living is easy. Binghamton Now, WNBF. Let's go back to the phones. I think I will take another call. See what happens. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob from Boston.
Yeah.
Sound like a cat in a fan belt. Janis Joplin. Don't get me wrong, I like Bobby McGee, but some of her songs, wow. Are you there?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I got my truck at Walmart about a half hour ago, coming down the Parkway, and Dave from Vestal was on, and by the time I got home, I was so mad. Do you ever take the transcripts of this show home and listen to how outrageous you are with these Trump? I mean, and I don't buy this thing about whoever's president has nothing. If the truck drivers are paying more for their gas, the prices go up in the grocery store. But come on, you went to school. Supply and demand. And we're not drilling for gas. We're letting Saudi Arabia run that, which we were independent under Donald Trump. Don't you people who listen to this realize this? And you're always saying it's price gouging. It's just, I don't get it. You people have got to be looking on both sides of this. How do you like the Olympics? Men beating the blank out of women. You think that's what we're going to get if Kamala Harris gets elected? Do you see that?
Simone Biles is doing well. I consider her to be the absolute greatest of all time.
Men are men's sports and women are women's sports. And these people...
Don't distract from the issue that Simone Biles is the best of all time.
Yeah, okay. What do you mean? This is my... I'm making the points here.
She's even better than Mary Lou.
This boxer punched this poor lady twice, and it's a wonder it didn't kill her. And that's what we're getting from you Democrats. You're freaky people, man.
You Democrats, you make it sound like I'm a Democrat. I'm a talk show host. I am not a Democrat. I represent that.
You were the biggest liberal there ever was.
No.
Give me that.
I'm the biggest moderate ever on this radio station. Neither liberal nor conservative. Middle of the road, like the station's music format once was.
That like hangs out with you. I've got to somehow find somebody and say, is this guy putting on an act? Because it's a bad act. I mean, come on, you have to be liberal. You could not pull this off. The way you go on, it's just amazing. And I try to get along with you, but like I said, it's a nice day. I just got a few groceries coming down the Parkway, and I have to hear about Donald Trump is the worst thing in the world.
I never said that. Donald Trump is not the worst thing in the world. Take that back.
Dave from Vestal needs to get a little strong with you. He doesn't need to. He always you talk him into your point of view. No, he needs to go, like I do. This is my point. Because he's laughing at your jokes, which I think are terrible. But I don't know. I've been harping on this for 12 years, and nothing ever changes. Democrats are great and Republicans are bad. That's your motto. And then, now Matt Ryan will call, Vinny will call, Martin will call, and they'll all agree with you, and then everything's all right again. I wish more of my people would call.
They're afraid. They're afraid to go on the radio and prevaricate because they don't want to be ostracized. Many of them this weekend will be hanging out with families and friends, and they don't want to face the indignation when somebody at the barbecue tonight or tomorrow says, yeah, I heard you on Binghamton Now. It's too bad that you deviated from the truth.
Yeah, and this thing about Fox News you're always knocking, that's another thing that drives me nuts. You like people who lied about Russia collusion for 3 years more than Fox News, who tells... I'm not a big Fox, I'm a Newsmax guy. I'm kind of getting away from Fox, but I still watch them. I click it over there. But, that's just outrageous. Those people on MSNBC and CNN are unbelievably slanted. They never show both sides of anything.
Well, on the bright side, Keith Uberman isn't on anymore.
He's a real genius, ain't he?
They ought to hire him over at Fox. Remember he used to work for Fox?
He's an idiot.
Yeah, but he used to work for Fox, so there is that.
Jon Stewart, you liberals love that guy. I'd like to slap. Oh, my God. Jon Stewart, The Daily Show.
Oh, yeah, that Jon Stewart is good. The other kid who does The Late Show, the guy who took over for Don Letterman, you know the guy. I mean, he still does the show out of the Ed Sullivan Theater at 1697 Broadway. I think he's really good because he seems, and maybe it's because of his glasses, maybe because he doesn't have a beard, but he really, really, really seems to be an honest broker of information.
I've seen clips of him. I wouldn't watch him.
What do you mean? What do you mean you wouldn't watch him? You wouldn't watch Stephen Colbert?
I go to bed at 10.
Oh, come on, man. You're missing the best.
Then I watch Gutfeld in the middle of the night sometimes. You got Cat Tim. And
oh, you know who I saw yesterday? Only the final minutes is my good friend, the judge, Janine. And,
there you go.
And she was out of control on the show, so she can't even control a show. They let her be the ringmaster for the show yesterday. I'm saying, oh, this is a nice surprise. I haven't seen Judge Janine on live TV in a while, so I said, I'll sit back and watch this and see, because they were wrapping up. I knew they had 5 minutes to go, and she let the other people on the show get so out of control. And it was a time management issue. And I'm thinking, Judge Janine, please. You had one job to do, and that's bring the show under control, close it in a nice fashion. Then they ran out of time, and she got lectured by the next host on Fox News Channel. I'm saying, come on, she's new. She hasn't been doing TV that long.
Yeah, whatever. That doesn't even interest me.
All right. 9:47. News Radio, WNBF. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
DJ in Binghamton.
Yes.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Deej.
In 2020 in Tokyo, Jade Carey won the gold, and Simone Biles was so mad and so jealous of her that she walked over to her belongings. She took her jacket, she put it on, and she said, "I quit. I'm never coming back." And she left the Olympics. Okay? That is a traitor and a turncoat to America. Three weeks ago, I watched her fall off the balance beam twice, and Jade Carey won gold that day. Okay? Now, then I found 3 Russian women who did the same thing that Simone Biles did and then some. So, greatest of all time is the biggest joke. Jade Carey far outdoes Simone Biles every time. The reason the fake leftist news, which you bought hook, line, and sinker because you just said she was the greatest of all time, and then 3 days ago you told me you don't even watch the Olympics, is because...
Well, I don't watch the Olympics, but unfortunately, in this media-saturated universe, even if you don't watch NBC Olympics, you still wind up seeing clips. Look, you know me. I'm on Twitter, and I don't know how to change my settings on Twitter so I don't see some of the stuff from the Olympics. So don't blame me. Blame Elon Musk.
A clip doesn't tell you who the greatest is. And let me tell you something else that they're saying, too, and I don't know if you buy this or not. Guess who the greatest of all time is because he's black? Muhammad Ali. Well, guess what? Muhammad Ali lost 5 fights. You know how many Rocky Marciano lost? None. Guess who the greatest of all time is? Hank Aaron, because he's black. No. Babe Ruth hit balls that were filled with sand. Hank Aaron hit balls that were filled with cork, which are...
Yeah, well, the other good news about Babe Ruth, and don't you forget it, he hit 2 home runs right here in Broome County.
John Havlicek.
All right, if you're not going to pay attention. Did you hear what I said? Babe Ruth hit 2 runs right here in Broome County. So I say something that's of local interest, and you ignore it.
I've got local interest. I met Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris.
All right. If you're not going to respond to a little bit of trivia that I say to enhance the program, if you're not even going to acknowledge it, I need to move on. But in the meantime, I bid you a wonderful weekend.
Bob.
No, I bid you a wonderful weekend.
You know nothing about the Olympics.
I know nothing about the Olympics. I can still opine. Yeah, I'm the first person to admit when it comes to the Olympics, I know nothing about them, except it's all about the money. And, of course, Simone Biles, who is the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Others may differ. Others will differ. That's why it's called an opinion. 950, Bob Joseph. I am not Howard Cosell, and I rarely will be caught speaking of sports on WNBF. Friday Morning Live with Bob Joseph, hosting the program with a microphone and a telephone. No talking points. They won't supply me with talking points. They send talking points to the other hosts, but I am not on their mailing list. So I somehow muddle through without a talking point. I think it's better that way. It's less predictable than other shows. Here's the forecast from the National Weather Service for your Speedy Fest weekend. Mostly cloudy today. Showers and thunderstorms likely. High 86 tonight. Showers and thunderstorms. Low 69. Tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms. High 85. And Sunday, mostly sunny with a chance of showers. Maybe a few thunderstorms. High 87 right now in downtown Binghamton. 76, 24 Celsius at WNBF at 9:53. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. My name is Katana. They call me Kat. I'm calling from Binghamton.
All right. You're on the program. What's on your mind?
Okay. I'm calling about the transgender boxer. I don't think that it's fair because that person is transgender. Because at the end of the day, they allow us to call ourselves what we want. You got children saying they're a cat. Now you have someone who's transgender, but fully, I don't believe that they're a woman. That should not be fair. They should have their own boxing match. If you want a transgender to box, find another transgender boxer and let them go at it.
Well, they might do that in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, because here's what I think about NBC Olympics, and it's one of the reasons I try not to watch it. I mean, I don't watch it, but I'm exposed to it because it shows up on social media. What I don't like about NBC Olympics is it's all about the money. So going forward, maybe in 2026 or 2028, they'll have additional competitions because they could make even more money for NBC Olympics.
I bet they could. It really is all about the money, and it's sad. But I just hope that they, stop trying to put a transgender up against a woman, because all in reality, you're still born a man, and you still have testosterone. And I mean, by all means, you're going to win against the woman.
All right. So would you watch, though, if they set up the new competition, say in 2 years or 4 years?
If it's transgender against transgender, yes. If not, then no. I'm going to boycott.
All right. So as long as it's sort of on in your view, more of a level playing field, you view that would be appropriate. And that way NBC Olympics, they could do that in 2026, and they could call up Bud Light to see if they want to be the exclusive sponsor. See what I'm saying?
All in. Absolutely.
Yes. Bud Light sponsors. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks. And Bud Light just thought, I thought we had put that controversy to rest. Thanks, Bob, for bringing that back. Hey, do what I can. Do what I can to help the situation. Well, I mean, come on, man. It's about the money. That's what it's about. If anybody looks you in the eye and says, "Oh, Bob, the Olympics, NBC Olympics aren't about the money," you tell them it's all about the money. Yes, it's about some of the most gifted athletes on the planet, but more importantly, it's the money. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Sean.
Hi, Sean from
Vestal.
Vestal?
Vestal.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, I called previously. I think this is my third time calling. We had a long stretch in Vestal without the spotters, and yesterday they're back in the house, and there was 5 police cars, and they still are not kicking them out. Code isn't doing anything.
Where is that? Over at Arlington Avenue?
Ross Corners in Vestal.
Right.
Yeah, we've gone to meetings. We've met with the police chief. We've met with the detective. It's just nothing seems to be get done. And yesterday, we hadn't seen the squatters in the house in over a month. We were told that it was a done situation. But there they are, upstairs. And now phase 3 of this whole thing is because the house has been vacated they don't throw away trash. We have rats in our neighborhood, and they're river rats. They're big because there's a stream behind the house. It's just, as a taxpayer, I'm at my end of my rope. I'm really thinking about selling my house.
Well, it's sad that it's come to that. I'll try to ask the town supervisor about that issue when she's on the program again.
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling.
All right. Well, I appreciate the update. Keep me posted. I appreciate that. It's what a shame. And Vestal used to be such a nice town. And it's come to this. It's 9:58. You're listening to WNBF. Another big hour, the biggest show on Binghamton Radio. Let's take calls at 607-772-1290. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Johan, Endicott.
Good morning, Johan.
How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to express my agreement with the previous caller about squatters and his frustration. And it made me think that when he said that he might want to sell his house and get out of the neighborhood, of course, the problem with squatters is going to reduce the capability or the possibility of him selling his house, number one. But number two, sometimes a house doesn't sell for a month, 2 months, 6 months, maybe a year. And the people have vacated it because they're living somewhere else. So can you imagine buying a house and from the time that it goes under contract to completing that contract, squatters move in? I mean, what do you do about that?
I don't know. I'm just glad that so far something like this hasn't happened to me, and it hasn't happened in my neighborhood, but I'm concerned because it seems to be happening with greater frequency. We're certainly hearing from many listeners around the area that either it affects them directly or in some cases nearby. And to me, it's untenable how New York State has allowed this situation to get as bad. And some people will say, but Bob, it's not just New York State. And I agree. It's not just New York State, but for my purposes and for the purposes of this program, I'm concerned primarily about New York State and why it's been allowed to become a crisis.
Well, this could be a great addition to someone's platform that's running for office to get some more applicable rules that can be actually enforced to prevent this or remove these squatters. It seems like trespassing on the first degree, and we all know that you can be arrested for trespassing, especially if you have been warned to stay off the property. Have a cop, sheriff, or the owner itself serve them with papers stating that they are trespassing, and then they have to leave. And then, if someone was harassing someone and they were told to stay off the property, they could be arrested. So why not apply that type of logic to this problem?
Well, recently we had a local government official on who expressed some hope because of some plan that apparently is in the works by the Broome County Sheriff's Office to come up with a new way of addressing the issue of squatters. So after I heard that on the program from one of our guests, I contacted the Sheriff's Office and invited Fred Akshar on the program to tell me what he plans to do. But he hasn't responded. I mean, I didn't talk to him directly. I talked to his office, and I said, I would like the sheriff to come on now, as in right now. I mean, he has a phone. He's probably listening. All good sheriffs listen to this program. All good law enforcement listen to this program because this helps them find out what's going on around here. So Sheriff Akshar could and should call in between now and noon and tell me what his plan is to offer some reassurance to Broome County residents and property owners who are dealing with this issue.
Well, it's obvious that the delay in response is because his pen is on paper inking the final details of what he's going to do. So,
well, I think it's more that he wants to have a big media event, so he'll roll it out in a news conference that he doesn't want to talk about it first on this program. That's my sense, that they're going to orchestrate some sort of media event before they talk about it on this program so they can have local officials, maybe town supervisors or other elected officials, and maybe the DEA, and turn it into that, which I'm not saying it's wrong to do an announcement, but since I've made an inquiry, since it was put out there on this program, my thought is, let's talk about it on this program. You still can have a big formal announcement, but there's nothing wrong with letting Binghamton Now listeners know what you're planning to do, even if it's not quite finalized. Give us an outline of what you are hoping to do, because this is a crisis that's affecting thousands of people in Broome County right now.
It could be like a soft opening, him coming onto your show before the big unveiling.
Yeah, it could be, and that would satiate the appetite of news-hungry Broome County residents, so it would lay the groundwork. Okay, so we have a sense, even if you're just laying out the framework of what the sheriff's office is hoping to do to address the squatter problem. So you don't have to tell everything. Just give like a basic outline and then say, I'm planning later this month to have a formal announcement when we'll provide more specific details of how we'll work with our community partners. And,
I think I could make this suggestion as to the location. right in front of this house that the squatters are in Vestal, that this poor gentleman called about in the last hour. Put it right there. Have camera crews there, full police presence for security. And they might even invoke eminent domain to take over that house.
Well, and that's the thing. That's you're right. They're not going to hold it at the sheriff's office in the town of Dickinson. They're going to hold it in front of the appropriate backdrop, whether it's in that section of Vestal, Ross Corners, or someplace else, say in the town of Union, or another place where squatters are causing an ongoing problem with quality of life and the freedom to enjoy our property. So yeah, they'll find an appropriate property, get all of the appropriate officials. So the sheriff will be there, the county executive, town, village officials, probably Mayor Cram, maybe some police chiefs. So it can go the full 9 yards, and even post a notice. Have a big notice printed on bright paper, like preferably orange, or
pound a sign right in the front yard. Yeah.
Yes, and say no squatters, but make sure that the font is big enough so it'll show up on the 6 o'clock news and on the front page of the newspaper, so everybody understands that Broome County means business.
And that would actually give also the opportunity for a river rat or two to make a cameo appearance during the press conference.
Sure. Maybe they could have some representatives from the Albany River Rats on hand to bring the river rat from Twin Orchards, bring it to Albany.
See, that's the type of thinking out of the box mentality I appreciate.
Hey,
I think that's a good idea.
You know me, I'm working for the people.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks, Johan. Bob Joseph, working for the people. Bob Joseph on your side. Bob Joseph, problem solver. Hey, I'll set it up. I'll go to Twin Orchards. I'll set it up. I'll get the camera positions. I'll point out how people should be set up. I'll give apparel suggestions. Make sure everybody is wearing their appropriate logoed attire. Especially appropriate if, say, it's a day like today where it's hot and humid. I mean, you're not going to be in full uniform. Casual. Business casual. It's Friday. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hi, WNBF. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Dave from Binghamton.
Good morning, Dave.
Morning. So I was going to call on one thing, but I needed to call on something else after a lot of the misinformation about an Olympic competitor is going on. So I don't know if people remember 2012 and 2016, there was a runner named Caster Semenya from South Africa that was accused of being either transgender or something like that. But basically, they had to go through testing and basically be run through hoops, and she had to sue the European athletic something in regards to European athletics. So basically, she just had higher testosterone levels, either because of being intersex or however she is having these higher testosterone levels. That's the same thing that's happening now with the Algerian and the Taiwanese boxers, is they have higher testosterone based on genetics, not having XY chromosomes. So the gender test that was failed in the International Boxing Association, I believe it was, IBA, not IBF, was basically what they're saying is a gender test is too high of testosterone. So similar to Caster, these two boxers are not transgender. They never claimed to be transgender. They are just higher testosterone levels throughout their whole life, which did cause the bigger muscles and a different look than someone might normally consider being female. And so there's a lot of misinformation being talked about. And the Italian boxer did not stop the fight because of and never mentioned anything herself about stopping the fight because the other person she thought was transgender. She never said that. She was hit in the nose. It was harder than anything she ever received before. That was why she stopped, because it was just too strong. Not because the other person was, quote-unquote, transgender, maybe. That she never said that.
So what should we do now? Now that there's a controversy, what should I do?
Well, you can't do anything. It's all, like the truth from the Olympic officials needs to be understood. People spreading that the person's transgender without any proof. It's just the Italian Olympic Committee or Boxing Committee has been spreading it. A lot of people on different talk shows have been spreading it without having all the information ahead of time and, getting all into her business, basically.
Okay. Well, thank you for straightening this out, because as I have said repeatedly, I'm not into NBC Olympics. I used to like the Olympics when it was ABC or CBS Olympics, but now that NBC Olympics is the brand, to me it's insufferable. I can't watch the way they present. I wish C-SPAN was allowed to show the Olympics, because I would watch that.
I would love to see Snoop Dogg do C-SPAN Olympic coverage.
Yeah, I would make popcorn and drink some banana soda with that. By the way, which brings me to the elephant in the room. And last night, seriously, I'm not kidding you, Dave. Last night I seriously was planning to bring in 1 12-ounce can of that delicious banana soda and finally do the long-promised taste test. I mean, this story, this saga of the taste test of the banana soda now is rapidly approaching the 2-month mark, and I was saying we were finally going to address this issue today, and wouldn't you know it, I left the house without taking the banana soda. So maybe next Friday.
Well, I know what you really want to do is you want to hold on to it until you can get your favorite snack from Canada in the fall.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah, so the raspberry swirl. But the other thing that I did want to talk about was, and I was looking up some, but in regard to the passing out flyers on school property, and that's where it's kind of difficult, like if the school was, say, Binghamton High School, where the sidewalk and the school are right next to each other, that would be one thing, where you can protest, you can pass things out, as long as you're not impeding anything. And I'm trying to figure out how on public school property, because like on a public college campus, they have free speech rules where anyone can come on the campus. They have areas where they would like you to do it, and most people will do it there. Similar, like there was the really religious speaker that was on there on the Binghamton University campus in the proper area. People protested, but against them, that it is what it is. But they have areas where you can go. You could just notify, hey, I'll be there. When it comes to a public school or a public elementary or high school or middle school or similar, that's where it gets dicey, because I'm wondering if the school district, by letting the county use that property as a public forum, opens it up to counter public forum use. So I don't know if they're restricting speech of people that are against that. So like the after school program at in Maine Endwell, that's a different thing where, it's public use for the students. So they can't restrict the use of the school for students' use, clubs, etc. But when it's a public entity coming onto the campus and they're able to provide their information, but they're restricting counter messages. I don't know if that truly is, and I haven't heard yet if Matt or Megan.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a legal perspective, because as a non-attorney, I can't understand why the school district or the people running next week's meeting would be opposed to somebody just handing out flyers, not engaging in anything that's going to serve to distract from the proceedings, but if you're just there as people are entering wherever the meeting is going to be held or leaving and making flyers available, not forcing flyers on people who don't want them, but handing people flyers if they're at all interested. I don't see why anybody could be opposed to that. I mean, after all, this is America.
Yeah, as long as it's not inside the building and they're not disrupting any of the operations inside the building and they're not blocking people from going in or leaving.
Right. So say like at the door, because I'm sure at the high school next week for the meeting, they'll have the public enter and leave the building wherever the meeting is held from a single entrance. So say if somebody wants to hand out flyers, if someone wants to hand out flyers supporting the project and someone wants to hand out flyers opposing the project, as people enter or leave the event, I don't know why anybody would be opposed to that.
Exactly, and I'm in support of the project, so I would love to see it be successful and bring in more business for the area and work well with the neighbors to provide the appropriate buffers and get the traffic through as well as possible to not interrupt their daily lives in that area. So I would love to see it there, but I do think they deserve to counter it and say why they don't want it there and see if they get support that way as well.
Yeah, this is America. We support all points of view. I mean, the airing of all points of view. And it's not that we can't make up our mind. I mean, in some cases we can make up our mind, but we certainly support freedom of expression.
Exactly.
All right.
And this weekend's a great weekend to support, more local stuff at Speedy Fest. So get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, and Lamb Speedies, to be sure. Thank you. It's 1028 News Radio, WNBF with Bob Joseph, working for the people, supporting everything that's right about America, including your right to call 607-772-1290. More calls coming right up on WNBF. Let's go back to those busy phones. Gary from the South Side, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. I'd like to comment on two things. The first thing is that Simone Biles, she said this morning that she loves her black job. And her job is to be the all-around women's gymnastic gold medalist. And nothing like cutting down a black woman that makes America proud.
Well, some people are prone to do that, but I'm not among them. I'm not among those who would cut someone down.
Okay, I have, for a long time, I go back years on this one. When Rush Limbaugh first came on the scene there, he coined the word liberal as a bad word. It's like, wait a minute, I'm a liberal. How come they're coining liberal as a bad word? You go, those damn liberals. So I looked up the definition of the liberals a long time ago. And one definition is willing to understand and respect other people's behaviors, opinions, etc., especially when they're different from your own. Believing people should be able to choose how they behave. Now, I also found another example of the definition of liberal and conservative. This is 10 years ago, and I've listened to people, the conservatives, and I've listened to liberals, and there's one definition that's from liberalslikechrist.org, and it says liberals are tolerant, generous, enlightened, broad-minded, lavish, charitable, and I was going to add compassionate and empathetic.
Wait, maybe then I'm a liberal.
Well, maybe you are. And also, I think you've seen some of that compassion on the tarmac yesterday. And I would also like the definition of conservative is stingy, miserly, regressive, narrow-minded, reactionary, bigoted, prejudiced, and biased. Now, I've listened to a lot of liberals, and I think that their prejudice and their biases and stuff blind them from the truth. I think they're just totally blinded by their prejudices and their biases. But I want to tell you that I'm the first person to stop and help somebody. I've never refused a friend help, whether it's monetarily or whatever, okay? If I can help a friend or help a stranger that's on the side of the road, like a good Samaritan, I'm there for him. And all the years that I have been practicing this liberalism, I've had a lot of good karma. I've had a lot of good luck. And I think it's a healthy way to live. Now, like I told you yesterday, I can't spend my whole day hating people, all right? So I think that being a liberal, I'm proud, and I think that the rest of the liberals, Democrats out there, they have shown on the tarmac yesterday. That was just unbelievable.
All right. Well, I appreciate your call.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine.
Thank you. Hope you have a good weekend. 10:34 at WNBF. So, are you a liberal? I bet we have more liberals in the audience if you think of it that way, based on that description, because that's the first definition. When you look up liberal from Oxford Languages, the first thing that pops up, liberal, willing to respect or accept behavior or opinions different from one's own, open to new ideas. You may be a liberal. I know you probably don't want to call in the program and say that because you might get some blowback from some other viewers. James from Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
What, me? Wait, where have I been?
So, James, are you now or have you ever been a liberal?
I have here in my briefcase the names of 237 members of the whatever. By the way, that's been some hard-hitting journalism, breaking news the last day or so. Like, oh my goodness, the Olympians are genetically superior in many ways. Then I'm shocked. I tell you.
Yeah, I was shocked too to hear.
The greatest athletes are the world's greatest athletes. I couldn't.
That Olympians are far stronger than, say, like the typical Binghamton radio host. That for some reason they have more gifts and are more talented, whether it's in boxing or gymnastics.
The one that gets, 4'7" Simone Biles, who leaps over 12 feet in the air, actually. It's crazy. My favorite's the stat. They put up a Katie Ledecky for the 1,500-meter freestyle, where, like, the top 26 or 7 times all time are hers. And she's posting times that would have won the gold in the men's competition in my lifetime. Now there's a lot of variables there, but yeah. Anyway, that's not why I called. I called, and I know sometimes I'm known to call in with some opinions on things, but I'm actually calling in a nonpartisan manner as an appeal to the good citizens of Broome County about an experience I've had recently, and it's an empowering and fun and exciting one. I've been hearing, over several years, people be cynical about elections and the integrity of elections, and we see what's happening in Venezuela, and the importance of understanding that when we get cynical or when we question the electoral process, we're not taking it out on our opponents. We're impugning, like, our friends and neighbors, because it's the greatest nonpartisan thing that we participate in, is the administration of democratic elections in this country, and it's an equal lift, with people from all parties working together in unison, checking each other's work. And so I decided I can't complain about that without doing something about it. So I went out and decided to volunteer to be a poll inspector for the Broome County Board of Elections. And I got to go through my training class, 4 hours earlier this week. And it was really cool. And you start to get an idea of exactly how careful it is and how much cross accountability there is, and the process of getting out the equipment and the machinery and the technology necessary to vote, including adaptive equipment for people with disabilities, which is important. anyway, and it's not an easy thing to commit to on a weekday. Say I'm going to be on site at 5:15 in the morning, and I'm not getting out here at almost 10 o'clock at night, and I can't talk politics at all. I just have to be here and administrate this. But, it's really cool, and they said they need lots of people. We're short on people, and it's paid. I mean, minimum wage, but in New York is still $15 an hour, so you're at least compensated for your time somewhat. And, instead of jury duty where it's like, oh, now you are compelled to do your civic duty, like here's a chance for people to, be proactive and volunteer to do it because, I don't want to cast aspersions here, and it's wonderful that people of all ages want to be involved, but I notice that when I go to polling places, there tends to be a little bit of a weighted toward, ages more than just people in their 20s or 30s or 40s like me. And I just want to encourage anyone listening, regardless of your age, if you're an adult, go take a time to volunteer. Even just the 3-hour class training for it is eye-opening, and it's really awesome. And so if you may allow me to throw broomvotes.com, is it .com or .org or .gov? I'm trying to remember.
I think it's .com.
.com. Yeah. No, there's a sign up there in a portal, and they said, we're taking, classes and trainings all the way through the end of September. So if you have friends or family who might be interested, please send them our way because it's an important thing that we do, and we need more people to do that. And, our system is only as strong as we're willing to be, proactively participating in it.
All right. Well, I'll try to get someone from the Board of Elections on to talk about this. Should have done it yesterday. According to broomvotes.com, August 1st was National Poll Worker Recruitment Day, and it has all the information you need, including class schedules. I'd like to be a poll worker, but I don't think they want people like me.
Well, you'd be great at it, but I think you've got a job to do on that day.
That's right, on Election Day. It's like... Wouldn't that be awful? On November 5th, people are expecting Big Bob Joseph to be pontificating on Election Day, and suddenly it's like, Mr. Joseph is off today, and we have to cloak it in secrecy because we can't say Bob Joseph is off today because he's doing his civic duty as a poll worker. And then can you imagine what people found out? Oh, I know where he is. Well, I'm going to go have a big discussion with him about the elections. And obviously,
you can't do that.
I know you can't.
You will be escorted right off the premises for doing that.
Now, I will say this
Not
about
you, but somebody trying to talk politics with you during that.
And certainly, if I was a poll worker, I would respect because I see all the qualifications. Ooh, I meet the qualifications. I'm at least 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I am able to perform all the essential functions of the job. And yes, I would keep my mouth shut about anything that was outside the essential duties of a poll worker. Some people say, but Bob, you're incapable. You're incapable of being there on Election Day and not talking politics. But the truth is, yes, I could, and yes, I would. But you're right. The viewers would expect me to be here on the program, so I'll at least this year I'll forego that opportunity.
One thing I found interesting, and so that maybe this is a peek behind the curtain, and maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I don't think so, because this should be a transparent process. One of the things that kind of inspired me even last election is you walk into a polling place and everybody's got the "Hi, my name is," a tag on, essentially, and it identifies, what their political party is, Republican or Democrat. And apparently there's laws in New York State with administering elections that you must have you can't open a poll place without having a representative who's a Republican and a Democrat president at the same time. Because we need to, make sure that there's at least a sense of cooperative equality. But, in some places they can't be as picky about who they can have because you may have more than one or the other. And so I'd be walking to polling places seeing Republican or Democrat, whereas I am not registered. I'm unaffiliated with the party. And I'm just thinking, man, I'd love to walk into one of these times and see the name tag and it says James, like a dude. You know what I mean? Like just anybody, unaffiliated. But apparently that doesn't happen. So if you see me, if I happen to be assigned to the precinct you're voting in and you walk in and it says James, blah, 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 and it says either Republican or Democrat, I won't know until that morning when they open up the envelope with the name tags what I am. And I can promise you that's not who I
All right. That's interesting. I don't think I realized that requirement in New York law. Well, I had a general understanding that I believe every step of the process that there has always been a need for a Republican and a Democrat to be part of the process, so nobody can say, oh, well, the Democrats all rigged that, so, they told the Republican to go down to Nanacoke Avenue to bring back a few dozen donuts, and we'll keep an eye on things here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, please, by all means, I know it involves them working that whole day, but anyone who's ever had a question about how things are administered, take the class and find out how many redundancies and how much checking and rechecking and how much tamper-proof accountability there is from point A to point B, and you'll start to realize wow, we are pretty lucky and blessed to have the electoral process in this country that we have, and it's only as strong as we're willing to participate in it and take ownership of the oversight that we as citizens have. And that's my soapbox going into the weekend, and I think you'll get better coverage maybe doing an interview on a Monday or a Tuesday anyway. So, yeah definitely give them a call and get somebody on, because they were like, please, send us your friends and family as volunteers or whoever, and we need poll workers. So, yeah.
Yep, now's the time to do it, because believe it or not, Election Day, I can't believe it, is going to be 95 days from now. Time flies.
It's funny they were talking about, and also be prepared that you got to be on site at 5:15 and out at 9, so when you get there it'll be dark, and you leave it'll be dark. And I'm like, that reminds me of when I was in college doing random board op at the radio stations where you work, where it's show up early in the morning and you're in the basement all day, and then you leave and it's just dark again.
Oh yeah, and I have to say that's one of the toughest things sometimes about working, say, here in December. So yeah, I might be trudging off to work while it's still dark, enter here in the beautiful state-of-the-art studios, and it may still be dark, and then I leave, say, at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and it's still dark, and I just, it's like, when will I ever see the sun again? So.
Well, we could live in Barrow, Alaska, I guess, in the wintertime.
That's true.
I don't know if I ever told you this. My first and maybe only foray into political journalism was when I was, part-time, and when I was working there in college, and they were like, hey, can you work? And it might have been Roger called, hey, James, can you come here and work? And I'm like, sure. And they send little 18-year-old, 19 or 18-year-old scrawny me with Bernie Fiani hands me this tape recorder with a handle on it and a little microphone that you probably got from Radio Shack, and said, can you go over to the I think it was the DoubleTree or the Regency at the time. I think it was the Democratic Party, election party. And can you just try to get some interviews with people? I'm like, I don't know who I'm interviewing. I just get them.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could remember who I was interviewing, but there I am, little 18-year-old me with one of those old tape recorders with a handle on it.
That's the way it used to be on election night, when we would try to find as many people as possible. So Bernie would be involved, I'd be involved, frequently Kathy White and Art Bennard and Tom Pachano would be involved, and we would find part-timers, because we wanted to have, say, a person, whether it was a full-time reporter or part-time person, say, at the Republican and Democratic headquarters in Binghamton, and then frequently we might want people to be out in Johnson City, Endicott, and Vestal, and cover these places not only for the live coverage on election night, but so we had plenty of sound to go with the stories on Wednesday morning.
And they were gracious. I mean, they probably saw little scrawny 18-year-old me, like, oh, look at this kid. I'm pretty sure I interviewed Tim Griffin. I can't remember his name. Maybe he would have been a Kowalczyk. Is that a name?
Yeah, John Kowalczyk was Broome County. I don't know if he was running for something. He used to be a Broome County official. What about Jim Talon?
Nice long interview, and
could have been Jim Talon.
And he's like, none of this matters, because we're trying to figure out who just won Florida.
Yeah, no, those were good times. Election night coverage from the very beginning was something I looked forward to, and I mean, after a while, I mean, in the early days, one of the things, because I am so old, I remember having to go to the Broome County Board of Elections at the county office building on the second floor and sit around and wait until some of the results would start coming in on the county computers, because they didn't have a hookup where you could get the results from any place other than the Board of Elections. So we would have to install, not just us, but other radio and TV stations, plus the newspaper, would install special phone lines. So there were 5 or 6 temporary phones that were set up. And so we're all reporters are hunched over looking at one screen and then calling in updates maybe every 5 or 10 minutes to our respective newsrooms.
Yeah, that was a good old day. When you had Dan Rather spinning yarns and crazy idioms all night.
Oh, Ratherisms. Oh, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought they were amusing, but after a certain point, especially if it was going to be a late night, and typically did, because CBS election coverage, or all network election coverage, typically was designed to go well past midnight, sometimes maybe as late as 2 or 3 a.m., depending on how things were going. And sometimes even Rather was starting to get a little out of control, say, after midnight.
Break his character. He'd start to break his veneer, and then like the whole, and the all shucks Texan would start to like pop out.
Oh, yeah. So, suddenly the Dallas Dan would start to emerge, and a lot of, the good old boy, I would be at home in Crawford, Texas, which of course he wouldn't, but still he would be Can you imagine if Dan Rather shows up in like a place like Crawford, Texas today? He'd probably be run out of town on a rail.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
it's hard to say.
Would they even recognize him or know him? It's the whole generation now.
Well, that's true. That's true. A lot of people might say, Dan, who?
Yeah. The guy that was on the floor of the 1968 Democratic Convention, who got like caught in the mob there.
And that is one of the most memorable bits of TV, certainly probably the most memorable convention coverage moment ever, with Dan Rather on the floor with those troublemakers pushing him around, and Walter Cronkite sounding totally outraged in the anchor booth.
Well, yes, but, I'm guessing Rather would have rather been there than out on the streets getting billy clubbed. But
oh, yeah. Well, the one thing, he might have gotten jostled a bit by the convention security people, but they certainly weren't going to pummel him. They weren't going to beat the heck out of him, like might have happened if he was outside the convention hall.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. A long-term, it would be a fun discussion to have at some point about the changing, ecosystem of the media business surrounding elections, because let's be fair, I don't need to sit around for hours anymore and hear like Van Jones tell me what he thinks about something when he's getting the information in the same amount of time that I am, because all I got to do is pull up ABQ website and they've got the same feed of information everybody else does. I can sit at home in peace reading a good book while I just update and refresh like election results, and I get the same information that I used to have to sit around and wait for Jennings or Brokaw or Rather to tell me,
Yeah.
So it is, yep.
Yep, those were good times. Thank you, James. Yes, I hate technology in that sense, because they've taken away something special about election coverage, whether it was local coverage or national coverage. It's all different today. I miss it. It's 10:52. Bob Joseph live on WNBF. Tom in Susquehanna, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Bob. Listen, this transgender that they're talking about with the fight? Now, I heard, I don't know for sure, but I heard he's got XY chromosomes. And XY means you're a boy, and YY means you're a girl. Now, why can't this thing just be settled with that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hear what you said. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I mean, this is not my area of expertise. So what I'll say this, Tom. I'll say I trust the people who run NBC Olympics. I mean, they all are all about the money, but nobody runs the Olympics better.
Yeah, Bob. All right, listen. This certainly isn't my expertise either, but there could be another way, and I don't want to say it on the air or to explain it. But, I mean, this is such a simple thing to do. It's either X, Y, or Y, Y. And I agree with you one thing. The Olympics has gotten completely out of hand. This is all about the money, like you said. And I don't know what the hell they're doing. But I never liked the Summer Olympics anyway. The Winter Olympics seem to be a little bit better.
I'll tell you, the Olympics I like best are the Olympics that have, say, someone like Ty Babylonia. Now, that's the Olympics.
Yeah, what was that? That was that was summer, right?
No, that's winter. She was a skater. You don't remember Ty Babylonia? Oh, come on now.
Bob, you know what I like for the Winter Olympics is the downhill. And those events, that's actually what it was. You know, now that you mention it, I do remember her. No, I don't like the
1980, I had to look up. She was in the 1980 Olympics, and she was one of the first. She may have been, she was the first Olympian I ever interviewed. Shortly after she did so well in the Olympics, I mean, I guess she did quite well. I guess she and her partner. What's his name? Mr. Gardner was. I can't remember.
No.
Who was her partner? Because they Randy Gardner. Randy Gardner. He wound up being injured, and they had to bow out of the Olympics because of his injury. But shortly after she was in the Olympics, she came to Binghamton because she was in the Ice Capades then, and I had a chance to interview her here in the WNBF newsroom, and I was very impressed. So that's all you need to know. Hey, the segment is coming to an end, but I hope you have a good weekend.
And explain, is it X, Y, or Y?
I don't know. Hey, have a good weekend.
All right, take care, Bob.
Yeah. All right, it's beyond me. More coming up here on WNBF. Martin from Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, love isn't always on time. I didn't want to disappoint Bob, so I thought I'd call in. But he made a comment about a week ago, but I liked that. And music can put us together, get us together. He said, he liked some things that I was saying about constant dimension and musical taste, whatever. But anyway, music's the big uniter, So, but anyway, I'm calling about the Republicans and how that they want it both ways. That when Biden was running, they're saying, "Oh well, he's too old. He's too old for the country, and he'll be 85." And we're patriots. We want what's the best for the country. And then he drops out, and then all of a sudden, it's a coup. It's a coup. And then that's their talking point. Then you go on, you just see, many clips. Oh, it's a coup. And Trump even said at one point, he should be reimbursed for all the money that he spent on his campaign attacking.
No, he didn't say that. No, come on, man. Donald Trump wouldn't say that.
Yes, he did.
No, okay. Well, I trust you. I try to follow his pronouncements, but he's always making so many pronouncements, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, well, how long she been? Was that 2 weeks old or something? But no. I think I've said it before on the program, but it bears repeating. Trump is the gift that keeps on giving. Yes. Well, if you think NBC is all about the money, the Olympics, so what about this guy? I mean, that wasn't even his money. He's taken in from all these donors. He's not even spending any money of his own.
Well, that is the sad thing. This guy continues to rake it in. I mean, he's laughing all the way to the banks.
Yes. And I watched the hostages coming home last night. That was great, and especially I'll get to the point about the Wall Street reporter and all they had this whole contingency of other brother reporters and sister reporters over there. That was nice because that's his career. And but the Republican rebuttal, I put it on Fox to see what they had to say. Now they're saying, well, that it was too slow. It was too slow. They would have got it back faster. They would have got them back faster. And the Democrats' response to that was from a historian saying that they knew that Putin knew. I mean that this would be the best offer that he would get. Because Trump doesn't get along with the allies. And Germany was a big part of this, and other countries. And so, well, there you go. I mean, I'm just saying that, they'll spin it. We got the guy out, but, we had to, then they're saying, well, look at the guy they had to get out, but we got 3 people out, and more to come. But that was nice also to see when after he met his family, he went over and he spent quite a bit of time with the reporters. And, there's more and more reporters getting killed all the time. And that's what we need. We need people to get in there and give us the truth. I mean,
it's nice. Actually, it's nice to see some elected officials who actually care about journalists.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I mean, we know that some former guys don't care about journalists. We've heard what they think about reporters, and I for one find that sort of position about the great craft of journalism. I find that kind of position to be deplorable.
Well, yes, definitely. But Biden and Harris were on the tarmac, and they went over to the left there, way down. And there was a bunch of reporters. They took questions. They took a lot of questions, and so there you go from reporters. And and what did Trump? When the first question that was asked when Trump was at the fraternity where Harris went to, and that was an all-black fraternity, and she went to Howard College, and she asked him some questions, and he said, "That's a horrible question. Who do you work for? ABC? You work for ABC? That's a horrible network." And then
we called it fake news. He dismissed ABC News, which, by the way, for those who aren't familiar, stands for American Broadcasting Companies. So he called the American Broadcasting's news operation fake news. So how can anybody want to be president when they dismiss the American Broadcasting Company's news operation as fake? That's not very patriotic.
No, well, it's all about him anyway. We all know that. So, but anyway, I just thought that was a great analysis that, why now? Joe wanted to do this to get it on his record.
Now, I'll say this about Mr. Biden. You don't have to like him, and some of our listeners actually don't like him, but at least he really works to get the job done because, for example, the one person who was held by Russia, he had been held since the former guy was president. So that was a case where Donald Trump had every opportunity to use ostensibly to use the connections he had with Russian leaders, including President Putin. He should have been able to work his Trumpian magic to get that guy released. But it didn't work, did it? We had to wait for Joe Biden, as well as America's allies, to spend months of painstaking negotiations behind the scenes to get a deal. Now, as one would expect, it's an imperfect deal. There are indeed things that people are not going to like, which is what I said earlier this week, the day before, I guess it was Wednesday, in response to a caller, that when Evan Gershkovich and any other Americans were released, whatever deal that cleared the way for the release would not be perfect. And if inevitably people would criticize. And you know what, Martin, sadly, even on this radio station, minutes after I left the air yesterday, when we should have been in a mood celebrating the freedom of these people who had been held by Russia, other hosts were suddenly bashing the deal instead of taking a few minutes to really celebrate freedom for these people who had been illegally held for a long time. Instead of embracing what should have been a joyful day for all Americans, they took the opportunity to bash Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well,
as predicted.
Something like that is messy. And, it's the best offer. That's the best analysis. And the key word is allies. That Putin looked at it and thought, what if Trump wins? He's not going to get Germany. He's not going to get other countries, Britain, everybody, because you needed the cooperation in NATO. And so...
Well, I'll say this. In fairness, you don't have to like Putin. I personally don't like Vladimir Putin. I believe he's a war criminal, and I believe some of his actions, certainly over the last couple of years, have been reprehensible. And, ultimately he may have to go on trial for being a war criminal. But you have to say this, a positive thing about Vladimir Putin, he reads the newspapers, unlike Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
So while Putin may be mostly bad, certainly in the last few years, I would say Putin's behavior, both internally and externally, I think Putin's behavior is generally reprehensible, and he should be held accountable. On the plus side, he reads the papers, and he sees what's going on in this country, and he realizes that if in the event, I was going to say in the unlikely event, but I don't want to irritate people, in the event that Donald Trump is elected in November, that it could have been very difficult to work out some sort of deal to get back some of the Russian criminals that he wanted. And that's the problem. You had to do a dirty deal to get these Americans and others who are being illegally held freed. That's how this works. There's no way to come up with a clean deal and say, Russia, you've been holding these people illegally, so let them go, and we're not going to exchange any of your bad people, any of your bad guys and criminals in exchange for their freedom, because that would be a non-starter. That means everybody who had been held up until a couple of days ago would still be held forever. There'd be no hope that they'd ever come home to their families.
Yeah, you had to do it when you could do it. And,
it's like, as they say, it's tantamount to making a deal with the devil. And I hope the devil isn't listening and isn't offended by being associated with Putin. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You hold your nose and say, it's the only way we can get it done.
One other thing about this, the analysis, and I believe this, that Putin thought also, this is good, that this cooperation, maybe this could be the next step to him getting out of Ukraine, come up with some kind of deal, because he's losing. And his troops are depleted, ammunition depleted. It's gone on a hell of a lot longer than he thought. So,
well, maybe I was thinking that too. That it's actually stunning, given what we're dealing with Putin's actions involving Ukraine and so much devastation that the war has caused, and just the human toll, the financial toll on people in Ukraine, and also the human toll and financial toll on the Russian people who want none of this, who only want to coexist peacefully with their neighbors. So if Mr. Putin, even though I think the consensus of most peace-loving people, Mr. Putin has been a bad actor especially over the last 2 or 3 years, well, maybe even he, a bad actor, can at least see this ongoing conflict, the war in Ukraine, is just not going to end well. And then maybe, wouldn't that be something? But here, it just occurred to me, Martin, what if between now and November 5th, there's a dramatic announcement that because of secret negotiations that were going on for months, that there is an announcement that the hostilities between Russia and Ukraine will cease. And it turns out that Americans and maybe some other countries had something to do with that. So if the war ends between now and Election Day, you can bet certain people, and I don't want to name their names because it's going to be an incomplete list, but say among them, Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, the Red Eye guys, Bill O'Reilly, people like that will criticize Joe Biden for an administration that might, against all odds, find a way to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. You can bet Donald Trump would find something to criticize about that peace deal.
Oh, they certainly will, but it comes down to, Putin's no dummy. He knows what time it is.
I know. Just because he's a bad actor and a former head of the KGB doesn't mean he's unintelligent. Appreciate your call, Martin. Thank you. It's 11:24 at News Radio WNBF. It's Friday afternoon. In Paris. It's Friday morning still in Binghamton. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Bob Joseph taking calls on WNBF. Returning to the busy lines, Vinny from Binghamton finally made it through. Good morning. What's on your mind? Oh, hold on. I always have to push the buttons in the appropriate sequence. Good morning, Vinny. What's on your mind?
Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about the release, and the feedback. This is so typical. I've said it before. I don't know what in the world has happened to the Republican Party. You guys did this when we caught Osama bin Laden. Same thing. You guys, we want to see his body. Coming from the most imperfect party, you guys are always looking for perfection. From the Democratic Party. When we got Brittany Griner, WNBA star, when we got her, you should have got so-and-so and you should have got so-and-so. And now look at this. These hostages, there you guys are again. Everything that the Democrats are able to get done that you guys can't get done, you want to sit there and criticize. And right now you've got a guy who promised he was going to get the troops out of Afghanistan. He didn't do it. He promised a wall in Mexico was going to pay for it. He didn't do it. He said he was going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it. He didn't do it. He said, I'm going to get those Kennedy tapes. He didn't do it. And now he's out there just running his mouth, sweating like crazy. I don't know if you've noticed that. Everything I see, he is sweating like anything.
Is he okay? And is there any physical problem that is feared?
Well, Bob, they're not going to let you know anyways. They're not going to.
Well, what about his doctor, the guy who wrote the glowing assessment of his patient a few years ago? Remember that doctor? And for the life of me, the language in his letter seemed to have been the type of language that the former guy would have used. That doctor. Why don't we get him on the air to talk about Mr. Trump's health right now, if there are concerns?
I think at this point, anybody that's affiliated with him has lost all credibility. Okay, we don't believe anything these guys say anymore, because, like you said before, you said a gift that keeps on giving. I think this is a gift that just keeps on lying. I don't know. Did you see that interview with Fred Trump III? Talked about his uncle being atomic.
Oh, I didn't.
Disability.
No, I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Oh my God, Bob, that was absolutely. I mean, tears came to the guy's eye, because Fred Trump III, he has a child with disabilities, and he was talking about where they ran out of money, for the organization, and he told his father. He came back and talked to Trump.
Oh, I see. It says he was on the View TV show.
Yep, and ABC too. He was on there.
Yeah, and he's got a book out. Hold on, he's got a book.
Yep.
Let me just see. I'm looking up the book. Oh yeah, it's got a red and white cover, so it'll track some of people who like Trump. Red and white covered book about about Donald Trump. I bet that'll sell a lot of copies.
Well, the part that I know, they said they put racism and stuff like that, but his answer to that was, my father, he goes, I really don't, and this is what I've always believed too about Donald Trump, because of all the years I've been talking about this guy, I never said he was a racist, but he knows how it works, and he will play anybody, black, white, you name it, as long as it helps him. But the thing that got me was the disabilities part. And this guy has and it showed it. This is on ABC. His son has these disabilities. And the foundation was run out of money. And he went in and talked to Donald Trump. And he goes, right off the bat, this is what he said. He said, look, man, he goes, he doesn't know you. So why don't you guys just let him die and move on with your life? And Fred told him, no, he does know me. But this is who this guy is. And don't think anything is going to change you, because I remember, I think it was Michelle Obama said something about the presidency. It doesn't change you. It shows the country who you are. And that's what it is. This is who this guy is. And, that's why this is an important election coming up. We've got to go right down ballot so we can get some stuff done in this country again, instead of Texas having all these unfoolish Texas and all this crazy talk. I think the country, we're tired of it now. We're really tired of it. I mean, if you've noticed at that Republican convention, a lot of the bigwigs were there. The Romneys, they were there. News media kind of brushed over it, but all the bigwigs, they weren't there. And I guess he's having something in Georgia this today. Governor's not going to be there. There's a lot of people that are. I think they're getting sick of this guy.
Well, it is on the part, as a representative of America's talk show host, I'd have to concede it's exhausting. I don't know if talk show hosts on radio, TV are really getting tired. I think it's just exhaustion is starting to set in, because it's just nonstop. With him, it's nonstop. It's always something. It's always some manufactured outrage.
Yeah, no policy talk. How are we going to get this done? If someone does something, they want to steal it. Hey, let's steal it. Like J.D. Vance is out there talking about his release. That's what Donald Trump is. That's what they do. They do this all the time.
Yeah.
They do it all.
It's predictable. You know what I say?
Yeah.
It's predictable.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, hope you have a good weekend. Let's take some more calls. At 11:32, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's Bob. Can I call back?
Oh, what the heck? Yeah. Well, I'll allow it this one time. I mean, don't make a habit of it, but hey, we're buds. So what do you think?
Just unbelievable. Since I called every liberal in the woodwork. This all happens every day. Bob.
But that's because you called. See, you made the error of calling in and being provocative, and so now, of course, people are going to call to respond.
I know. I wish more of my people, please, people, call and tell us. But, okay, here's the thing with you people right here. If Trump got those people released, do you think Joy Reid and the gang would be going, Trump did a great thing there, yeah? Then he acts like, his side would go, oh, yeah, Trump's great. Those people hate Trump. He can't do anything without them cutting, and he's the worst one. I think he's in love with the guy myself. I like Trump, and I can't sit and watch his whole speech. I'll watch it for a couple minutes. You liberals act like you love this guy, and you talk about him constantly, how bad he is. Yeah, he's the topic of conversation. Can't we talk about music or sitcoms or something one time? It is frustrating.
All right, I agree. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good weekend. 1134 WNBF. Bob Joseph, a friend to all. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Bob's best friend, Matt Ryan.
Hey there. Yeah, I saw you guys together, and at first I did a double take looking at the picture, and I said, I bet that picture has been doctored, and then I turned it over to some forensic photography experts and said, no, that's the real thing. That's Matt from Binghamton and Bob from Vestal hanging out together.
I'll be glad to anytime. I'll meet him around, just not near the edge, because I don't know if he'd push me off or not. But anyway, do you know this name? It's Nimarh.
Hey, you're sounding a little muffled. Are you on one of those speakers?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, it sounds a little muffled. I'm having a little difficulty making out every word.
Is that better?
Oh, but much better.
Okay, so I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Nimarata, Nimarata, and last name Randhawa. And then there's Piyosh, Jindal, Jindal. And then there's Rafael Cruz. So who are all those people, do you know?
Well, I know Nikki Haley. Everybody knows Nikki Haley. That's the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay. I mean, yeah, lots of...
Well, my point is,
yeah, she
ran as Nikki Haley.
Right.
What's his name ran as Bobby Jindal.
Right.
Rafael Cruz, we already know, is Ted Cruz. The only one that they keep talking about names and where they're from and all this, they all make up names for themselves. Who was the only one who had the name that was used over and over and over and ran as himself? Barack Hussein Obama. So
yeah.
Of
all the people who might have felt, from a political standpoint, some kind of pressure to come up with a different name, like whatever, J.D. Vance. I've lost track. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I think now he's actually on to a really good name, J.D. Vance, so I hope he keeps it regardless of how the election goes this year. I mean, stick with this name. This is a good one. J.D., you have a winner. But, yeah, there are so many people who over the years, whether they're in politics or other endeavors, have opted to go with a different name publicly. But, yes, Barack Hussein Obama.
You notice they're all Republicans that changed their names.
Well, not all.
Yeah.
The ones you chose to mention, but what about Pee Wee Herman? He changed his name. He was not a Republican.
He's not running for office.
Well, he's not able to run for office because sadly he's no longer with us. But back when he was able to run for office and he wasn't a Republican, Paul Rubens had been known as Pee Wee Herman. And I'll tell you this, if he had chosen to run as a Republican candidate, he might have, well, who knows?
Well, my point is that...
I mean, look, I'll say this. You never heard anything about Pee Wee Herman and a couch. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay. Now continue with your line of thought.
I guess my only point is that it just seems that all the people who are on the right side of things feel like they need to change their name to be viable, whereas somebody who has probably, especially with the middle name Hussein, probably had the name to most run away from. And now they're making fun of, Kamala's name. As you say, they never say it right. They always, and like it means something, like her first name is somehow important when they ran away from their first names every time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a minor, it's not even an issue. Well, maybe it is hypocrisy, but the bottom line is, ultimately, the American public will choose between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris based on who they think is best equipped to lead this great country for the next 4 years. And I think many of our listeners would agree the choice is obvious.
Yes, I agree too.
All right. We'll be taking more calls here at WNBF. As I say, I don't tell you how to think at all. And I don't want you to change your mind because of what's on this program. You continue to think the way you want to think. That's fine. The main thing is go out and vote. That's the main thing. Go out and vote. And encourage other people to vote. That's what the deal is here. Get more people engaged. Get more people to care about what's going on. 607-772-1290. It's Friday with Binghamton Now on WNBF. I've squeezed in lots more calls because the weekend is just around the corner. I'll call this the lightning round, so we may move quickly. So turn up your radio. John in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Well, John in Binghamton had down his radio because Matt was on, and I didn't know how long he would talk, so I missed everything that Matt had to say this morning. But we've had plenty of Matt for, 20 years or more? I don't know. We've had plenty of Matt. I wanted to call. This call is for the caller, Bob. Hey, Bob, I'm on your side. Let me tell you, the only candidate with 96 days left to election that is going to take our country into the future with the same ideals that we've had for the past over 200 years. We're going to take those ideals forward. That is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to take us right where we belong. This other candidate, the other day I called her an upstart, and I don't mean to make, that's not a name calling, that's really a behavior. She's an upstart, and she's a flaw. Okay? So it's just, she held back, she waited until something happened finally to her namesake Joe, and
like Jerry Ford.
I don't know who it's like. I can tell you what, I don't.
No, it's exactly like Jerry Ford 50 years ago, almost exactly 50 years ago to the day. I mean, we'll mark the anniversary next week. Yeah, 50 years ago, August 1974, Jerry Ford just happened to become the first vice president who nobody voted for. At least Kamala Harris was voted on by the American people in the 2020 election. So what about Jerry Ford? You gonna criticize him?
Bob, are you really going to go back 50 years? We're talking about...
Well, because you're making some sort of... Kamala Harris happened to be vice president. She was voted by more Americans in November 2020 than the Republican vice presidential candidate. So, yeah, I'll make reference. You're the one who came up with the construct that she waited around till something happened to Joe Biden. Well, if you use that, then Jerry Ford waited around till something happened to Milhouse Nixon.
You see, what you've got wrong there, Bob, is that I didn't make it up.
I didn't make it up either. 1144 WNBF Airport Road. Bob, you're on the air from the town of Maine.
Geez, I'm hoping you'll let Matt call back in because I still need that pro bono advice for
Well, there's a chance where the time is ticking and we don't have much time left. I'm going to try to get as many calls on as possible before the end of the program.
Try and hit him on Monday. I need a little advice because I'm with you. I don't understand why I can't just stand in the parking lot and hand out flyers, but I need that pro bono advice from an expert in the field of protest. Hey, have a good weekend, Bob.
All right, you too, Bob. It's a program for Bobs. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where you're calling from?
It's Paul from West Windsor.
Hey, Paul, what's up?
I want to talk about the Squatters' Bill of Rights. People know about it. You can go and look at the Squatters' Bill of Rights. Something as little as a mailing address at one of your properties can give them almost as much rights as you have to that property. I had to sell my house. I had squatters in my house. I know all about this. I went through the Broome County Sheriffs and I went through the courts. You got to watch if any mail is going to your property, they're going to have rights you don't expect. I'm just warning the listeners, if you have property, and apparently the post office will allow you to switch your mailing address, and these squatters know how to handle it. They have a system of doing this. They'll bring in people that are associated with them, friends, family, and this is a little thing as a change of address to your property can give them rights you can't even expect. So that's all I have to tell you. It's just a warning for listeners. I went through the whole thing.
All right. Appreciate that warning. 11:47 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's John from Binghamton, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the air right now, okay? I was surprised that you cut and run on me when we were in the middle of a discussion.
Well, here's the thing. I'm trying to squeeze in a maximum number of calls in the final minutes before the weekend. Don't you think that's fair to the other viewers?
Okay, it's a time thing. It wasn't an attitude.
No. No.
Okay.
If John from Binghamton, here's the thing. Here's a pro tip. If you call earlier in the hour, you're most likely to get more airtime. If you call closer to the top of the hour, especially final program of the week, where I'm trying to be generous with people and get them on the air, if only briefly, so they don't have to wait till Monday. So has
thank
nothing.
You for being thank you for being generous with Bob. That was nice because Bob's a good egg.
Well, he is. That's why I let him on for a second time, even though he's not a fan of me. I mean, I certainly didn't have to give him an opportunity to be on a second time this morning, but I'm a kind and considerate person, and I thought, of course, Bob from Vestal, of all people, deserves to even be on a third time.
You're making that obvious to everyone that you're kind because you're letting me talk for a second time. How's that? Now, I just had one more thing to add. How much money did the United States give out to make this exchange of hostages?
$0.
Not true.
How much money did the United States give out?
It's in the billions, Bob.
Oh, okay. Well, how much was it? How much they gave out billions of dollars to who? How much and to who?
I've heard between $4 and $6 billion.
To who?
The Slovenian people, Slovakia, or the other country that was involved.
So Melania's people, or her, isn't she? So you're telling me that Melania Trump's people got billions of dollars.
Who are your people?
I don't know. First of all, what's your source? Name a source. What news source said $4 to $6 billion was paid out? Because the news source I heard this morning was $0 was paid out. So tell me your source.
I just did, but you walked over me. ABC.
Okay, I'll have to look that up because that's the first I'm hearing it. So I'll have to look it up.
Okay. And it's politician time. We're giving away every dollar we possibly can to get those votes.
Exactly. Democrats and Republicans, always.
No, the ones in power are giving it away.
Right. And that includes Democrats and Republicans. Yes, Democrats control the White House. Democrats control the Senate. Republicans control the House of Representatives. In New York State, Democrats, control everything, the governor and the legislature. I'm saying no matter what state you're in or what level of government you're looking at, the people in power give away our money so they can get reelected.
Well, I wasn't talking about dog catcher, Bob. I was talking about the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States are giving away money left and right to keep in power.
Like every president and vice president has always done.
I don't think Donald Trump did.
Oh, please don't make me laugh.
What's your source?
Don't make me laugh. Donald Trump and his administration gave out federal money while he was president. Come on. I have to terminate the call right now because I want to get a couple more callers in before the weekend. But call back next week if you want to make an assertion that the Trump administration didn't give out federal money when he was president. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. James from Endwell here.
Good morning.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that squatter business. We actually have one up here in Endwell neighborhood off Hooper. And, yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. I know my son, I had an extra house, and I had my son in it, and he had a couple friends with him. And I had to persuade them to get out by giving them $1,000 each. I figured that was a lot easier than going ahead and getting an attorney and stuff. But anyway, the reason I called is, has anyone else noticed that there's hardly any political bumper stickers out there? It must be such a contentious, emotionally charged race this year that people are afraid to display it. So,
well, what bumper stickers do you have on your vehicle?
I don't even want to say. You know what happened this morning was I did put one on there, and apparently somebody didn't like it, so they started revving up their engine, tailgating me. They passed me, even though I was doing the speed limit on a double line up in Watson Boulevard there, and you could tell they were angry about something. And I was doing the speed limit, but maybe somebody was just in a hurry to get to work. But I drive all over the Northeast, and I drive truck, and there's not many bumper stickers. I'm surprised. It must be people are afraid to voice their opinion.
Right. Well, as you experienced, that you answered, you explained if that happened to you this morning. Of course, I would never drive around. Well, first of all, as a reporter, I'm not supposed to, like in my private life, be espousing opinions. On this talk show, I'll discuss opinions because people want to hear some opinions from an actual live host. But in America today, I wouldn't put a bumper sticker on my car. Are you crazy?
Yeah, this guy, he almost hit me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I took down his license plate number. I called the state police. They didn't even want to hear about it unless I filed a regular report, and I didn't want to go to all that trouble.
No,
so.
They don't. They don't have time for that.
I figured it'll catch up with them sooner or later. So.
Well, it will.
Right,
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your call. Yeah, at some point we're going to hear a story about him in the news. He's probably going to take his anger and aggravation just a step too far and hurt himself or someone else. But in this day and age, honestly, don't put a bumper sticker on your car. You want trouble? That's one way to guarantee that you're probably going to get trouble. Put a bumper sticker on your car. Either when you're out on the road or when it's parked, something bad will happen to your car. Don't put any stickers on your car unless you want trouble. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Real quick, I looked up what that guy was saying about billions of dollars being exchanged. Jake Sullivan said when questioned about it, no money or no sanctions were loosened or no money was exchanged. So I think we better get to the bottom of this on Monday. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. That's what I heard Jake Sullivan say that this morning. No money was involved. So, if Jake Sullivan is lying, take it up with him. And don't put it on this program. He's a trusted source. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. Where are you calling from? What's your first name?
I have multiple Jesus stickers on my back of my vehicle, and nobody messes with me, so you guys need to keep that. You people make me sick.
WNBF, what's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Dan from Binghamton.
Yeah, what's up?
I just wanted to say I'm a liberal, and I know that's not weird. I know it's not weird, Bobby. Signing off for the weekend.
All right, thanks. If you see any weird people, take a picture.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Don't say anything to them.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of weird people out there. The weird factor. It's too bad, too. It didn't used to be this weird. Now, suddenly, the more you look closely and you see behavior, That's weird. It's weird. But it's America, so in America, you are free to be weird. Here's the forecast for those who may be interested. First of all, guidance from the Weather Service. Hot and humid weather continues today with peak heat indexes well into the 90s for valley locations. Scattered showers and storms with heavy rainfall expected today. Any slow-moving and or training showers and storms may produce heavy downpours that could lead to localized flash flooding. So there. Right now it's 84. It's 29 Celsius. WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Linda from Binghamton.
Morning. What's up?
I'll keep it short because I know you want to get home or get done with your show, and I don't blame you. Let's sort of talk about abortion quick. I'm just an opinion. I'm all for women's rights. I agree if a woman wants to have an abortion, she should be able to have it. However, I think the issue is, and I think it has to be addressed, is the money. Who's going to pay for it? Because I've had the experience of one woman calling in 3 times to say she's going to New York City to have an abortion. And guess who paid for it every time? The government. So I think that things would change a little bit. You know, yes, you have the right to your own body, do what you want, but you're on your own. That's just my opinion.
Well, I appreciate your call. Hope you have a good weekend.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that is our program. I think it's been a great week. Enjoy your weekend, but be back here Monday morning from 9 to noon for another episode of Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF.